So we just got back from the H&H Americas show in Chicago. Now this is the first time that SweetGeorgia has attended any sort of trade event since 2019, for obvious reasons, and I was honestly really nervous about the show. So I wanted to share some of the thoughts that I've had since coming home. Hey there, thank you so much for being here. I'm Felicia from SweetGeorgia Yarns, and we are a hand-dyed knitting yarn company based in Vancouver, Canada. And we also have an online fiber art school and learning community called the School of SweetGeorgia, where we have been teaching people all of the fiber crafts, including knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, dyeing, tapestry, and more. Before we go on to the H&H stuff, if you want to know about this sweater, this one is the Lace and Fade sweater that is designed by Joji Locatelli. This is knit up in 5 colors of our Tough Love sock in the Elixir colors, and the color in between for the lace, this is actually called Glow. It's from our Ethereal collection, and that one is in the Merino silk lace. I know in Joji's original pattern, she used a silk mist kind of yarn, like a mohair silk lace. You could use that to have like a little bit of fuzz, or in this case, we used a smooth lace yarn for that section. But this sweater is wonderful to wear. I love it. Tabitha has actually knit up this particular sample, and I want to make a whole closet full of them. It's absolutely fantastic, and I love it. We have been dyeing yarn for 18 years now, and we've been teaching the dyeing and all of these different crafts in the school for about 6 years now. And so when I think about these numbers, I'm always in a bit of disbelief because it feels like we just started. And I can't believe that we've been doing all of this for this long. But with all of these years, I have seen things. I have seen trends come and go. I have seen the birth of Ravelry, and now I'm seeing lots of new different things with this new generation of makers. And so before going into the show, I was filled with a certain amount of dread and uncertainty about where knitting and yarn and crafts were headed. I mean, I think that we've seen ups and downs, and I think that we're all still trying to navigate this post-pandemic world, trying to figure out what do we value, what do we want to prioritize in our lives. We're trying to figure out how to juggle craft and creative time with more time with family or more friends, more time spent maybe on our own mental health and well-being. I know I juggle all of these things constantly at home, you know, after having a taste of spending more time with your family during the past couple of years and wanting to make sure that I prioritize that. How do I do that and still give myself time to make the things that I love to make? Like many of you, I'm this lifelong maker, lifelong crafter, and I've gone from knitting and crochet as a kid to sewing my own clothes in high school to then learning how to spin and dye yarn after university, and now I'm into weaving and CSM knitting and flatbed machine knitting, and I see this all as this lifelong continuum of learning and just enjoying different ways to play with yarn and color and fiber. And very often I feel like I'm talking into a bit of a black hole. Like no matter what I talk about, I feel a little bit alone in my interests. Like when I started spinning, I did not know a single person who was interested in what I was interested in. And this is why I started creating content about yarn and fiber in the first place. It's simply to meet other people with similar interests. And so I have to say that going to H&H was better than I anticipated. It restored that piece of my soul that just wants to meet other people who love what I love. So having people come up to me and chat about their circular sock knitting machines or their weaving or their ombre hand-dyed sweater that they knit, all of these things just make me so happy. And so this particular trade show, more than any other show that I've ever been to, I feel like was a show about celebrating multiple crafts. I mean, for sure, at this show there are quilt booths, and there's fabric booths, and there's sewing booths, and then there's yarn booths. It did not feel like a divided show, like where there was yarn on one side and sewing on the other side, and never did the two meet. In fact, there was just a lot of crossover. There's lots of booths with punch needle kits, crochet amigurumi kits were very popular, embroidery kits, and it felt like the majority of the yarn shop owners that I talked to were already actively supporting multiple crafts and not just knitting. So the shops that seemed to be thriving right now were shops that were focused on having something for every kind of crafter. So including knitting, and crochet stuff and spinning fiber and weaving stuff and embroidery and punch needle. It was just and. And so I know that the shop owners that I was talking with, we were talking about supporting makers at all different experience levels and all different interest levels. And so all of this resonates so much with me because I am that lifelong maker who's gone through all the different rabbit holes. I think I read a stat that the average time that we spend on a hobby is somewhere between 3 to 5 years. You're just obsessed with it for about 3 to 5 years. And then maybe you move on, but what do you move on to? And so I think as makers who are interested in these tactile crafts of working with yarn and fiber, it totally makes sense that a knitter might knit for 3 years and then all of a sudden get curious and interested in spinning. And then they get curious and interested in maybe some weaving. And it's just this journey of exploring all the different things that you can do with yarn. So the vibe of this particular show seemed very optimistic. I met a lot of new shop owners who, some people had just taken ownership of an existing yarn shop and they were coming with fresh new energy and new ideas. Lots of people were also opening brand new shops in a new neighborhood. And there were lots of other yarn shop owners that I talked to that have had long-standing yarn shops, and they were just thriving because they were super on the ball about their business. And so these are shops talking about they're running a brick and mortar shop at the same time as they're building their online shop, at the same time as they're doing their social media, at the same time as they're growing their email list. They're just doing everything. It is a ton of work to run a local yarn shop. And so the one thing that kept sticking in my mind as I was coming away from the show, the thing that I kept thinking about was not just that like local yarn shop owners work so hard to build their store and to build this thing. The one thing that they do better than anyone is build community in their space, building a super strong community. These shops build communities like they are extended families, and it's all based on making together, learning together, supporting makers on the progression of their skills. It's basically finding, where are you at? How can I help you? What are you interested in? How can I help you? What would inspire you? How can I help you? And all of this was super, super inspiring and energizing to see. So at this point, I just need to say, please, please, please support your local yarn store. If you have one in your area, I encourage you to go visit them and support what they are building. I know some people don't have a local yarn shop nearby, or the local yarn shop closed down in the past couple of years. But if you can, please do visit your shop. I also think about how your local yarn shop can support you as you move through these craft interests. So if you started off knitting during the pandemic and then now you want to try crochet amigurumi, or you want to do granny squares, or you want to try punch needle or rigid heddle weaving, I believe that your shop can help you with all of that as well. And so with all of this interest in so many different crafts, I know that the one challenge that shop owners have been telling me about is being able to support makers for all the crafts and all the different levels, which is part of the reason why I think something like our school, the School of SweetGeorgia, can help fill that knowledge gap for a lot of people. Finally, I want to thank the team at H&H Americas for creating such a professional and organized event for us to all attend. They gave me the opportunity to be on the main stage with Amy from Creative Spark at C&T Publishing, Lauren from Maydell Crafts, and Lyric from the Academy for Virtual Teaching. And we all spoke about how online education can collaborate with brick and mortar shops for this exact reason, making it easier for local shops to provide support and education and skill building to makers everywhere. So I'm really, really grateful for that opportunity. I am also super thankful for the amazing team at SweetGeorgia for preparing the booth, and then for Anita and Teresa and Tabitha to join me at the show. Tabitha launched her brand new perpetual calendar, which has 365 different stitch patterns. It's amazing, and so many stitch patterns. And she did an amazing book signing for her Switch and Knit Stitch Dictionary book as well at the Stackpole booth. And she did a little interview inside the Creator Studio for Mary Beth at Made It Myself TV. And I'm also really excited that Joe Packham's team from Made TV Network came to film in the SweetGeorgia booth as well for her brand new streaming network. So we're very excited to see that come to life this summer. And finally, I am so thankful for the chance to reconnect with the yarn craft community. Like probably a lot of us, I was feeling very disconnected for so long, and this event just brought back a lot of love and a lot of encouragement. So if you have watched this far, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more chats like this, please do hit subscribe. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Please let me know if you have a local yarn shop, which one it is, and what you love about your local yarn shop. Thank you so much for being here. If you like this content, please do hit subscribe. We come here every week to talk about something to do with craft and color. I will see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.